Buckle your seatbelt because I am about to share with you my craziest find yet. Sumatra. Here's the city of Padang. And as we zoom in here, what are we going to notice? Oh, what do we have here? What is this? Dr. Maga. Let's see what this is about. 16 photos. And here it is. Will you just bask in this with me for a moment, please? Keep fire, you adventure life. Dr. Maga. Keep fire, you adventure life. Dr. Maga. I would like to officially dedicate a tool. I would like to officially dedicate the Tooling of Earth series to the one and only Dr. Maga. Dr. Maga. Let's see Sumatra. We're not done yet. A few moments ago, hashtag when survey Dr. Maga with aroma kitchen good owner. A few moments ago, hashtag when survey Dr. Maga with aroma kitchen good owner. Okay, you can unbuckle your seatbelt. I actually do have something to show you over here, and that is at Hermanus Beach. Somebody posted something pretty cool on Facebook. So let's take a look at these images. So the idea is it's either an artist came and carved some stuff into the rock, and obviously this looks like a dude who got petrified or something. Some different angles, and there's a rope, and I guess the people were wondering if it's actual petrified something or other. But when I look at the rope, it just looks fake and cartoony. So I don't think this is real, but there's a slight chance that it is, so I mean, people are pretty talented. It's possible that an artist came along and spent a long time carving this out. Very, very possible. Probable, I would say. I'll show you the Wikipedia article. Batu Melon Kundang is a stone relief in the form of a broken ship, and someone mentioned as Melon Kundang lies face down. So the lore behind it is this, I read the story. There's it's like a local legend, like a kid disobeyed his mom, so she turned him to stone or something like that. One of those stories. The The chunks of stone depict the end of the life of the character, a merchant who, upon his arrival to his hometown, received a curse for refusing to admit his mother. Okay, I went back and forth about whether to include this example, the Batu Malin Kundang stone relief, because according to this Wikipedia entry, it was created in 1980 by these two artists. So my best guess is I'm sure that's true. I just wanted to include it anyways because in some photos you can see the stone chipping away or peeling away, like a thin layer of stone that is coming off and revealing another layer or another more stone underneath. And it's similar to what we see in the Egyptian sculptures. So I'm not quite sure how that all ties in together. Maybe it was something before 1980 and then an artist came along in 1980 and edited it to make it cooler or whatever. I don't know. So just throwing that in there. Although in many of these Egyptian pictures, some of the chips I'm referring to might not be chips, but might actually just be archaeologists restoring the site with putty of some kind or mortar or whatever. And it's possible that this site in Sumatra of Batu Melin Kundang was created with some kind of concrete or cement, and it was poured over the area or manufactured somewhere else and then brought to the beach. And then the reason we see it chipping is just because it was created in multiple layers, or it was cement poured over the natural rock there and then styled. That's possible. Also, it's worth comparing it to the bodies at Pompeii. Just for reference, here's some of the bodies. These are real pictures of the bodies from the volcano explosion, whatever. Here's a quick video of some different angles of it. Blah, blah, blah. The rope, again, looks kind of fake. And you can see yeah, it looks like a Disneyland attraction. Another angle of the dude. Some other angles. Kind of made to look like a shipwreck or something. Pretty cool, pretty charming. This I just wanted to show because there's the idea of petrification. Some people think this is a real giant. It's 35 feet high. It's, who is it? The Colossus of north of Florence, Italy. Personification of blah, 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 blah. 35 feet tall. So some people think it's an actual petrified giant, which I would say it would 75% surprise me if that's true, but it also... So my best guess is it's probably... I don't have a best guess. I don't know. I don't know anymore. Just some people haven't seen this, so... Then there's this guy, a rock sculpture giant guy. Some people think it's petrified. Could be. I don't know. This I just wanted to show because there's the idea of the mud flood, and hadn't actually occurred to me, but the moai of Easter Island, these figures. Somebody posted in the Mud Flood and Hidden History Researchers Facebook group. It's good. It's a good group. A lot of cool posts. They posted this album. So the idea would be that there was a big flood of dirt and mud, possibly deliberate, possibly natural disaster, and possibly one of many floods from one of many resets, possibly, maybe not, who knows. Moving on. This I just wanted to show. Somebody posted this as a hypothetical way some of these structures could have been created. This is modern 3D printing, and it's printing a cathedral, and we can imagine that that's possibly how some of these structures might have been brought into existence by some type of crazy freaking method. Although, I mean, you see stone blocks, so it's assembled piece by piece is what it looks like, not like 3D printed like this. Just worth considering that some type of weird construction method could have been used for some of these projects. Okay, what you're going to see next is some clips from the movie Dark City, and this is an analysis by Film Comics Explained, and the title of the video is The Stranger's Dark City Explained. And there will be a link in the description, and the reason I'm including this is because I wanted to show you how the way the buildings form, or just kind of unfolding and unpacking, and just in a few seconds these new buildings are created. And that same technique could go for buildings or any type of feature. With sufficient wisdom and technology, you can pretty much do anything, really, so this isn't too far-fetched. So just take a look and screen for possible thematic elements that may apply to this tooling of Earth situation, and again, the buildings unfolding.
Let the tuning commence.
The Strangers were essentially a hive-minded alien species that were the main antagonists of the film, who possessed incredible powers and advanced technology. While they were a superior species, they were also a dying race trying to adapt and withstand their oncoming extinction. Having observed the individuality of human beings, they believed that the solution to their plight lied somewhere in the human psyche, and as a result, they arranged a grand experiment to delve into the forces behind human personality and memory, experimenting at length on the humans they had been able to abduct in an attempt to find some insight that could potentially save their race. And as such, they spend much of the film orchestrating events from behind the scenes, only revealing themselves when they have no choice but to intervene directly. The Strangers' most prominent trait is their telekinesis, which is powerful enough to warp physical materials on a molecular level. Conjuring new buildings and new structures for their captives to inhabit. The Strangers formed an immense space station, modifying it to resemble a human city that was perpetually stuck in the 1940s. Disguising their true forms with human corpses, they abducted several thousand humans from Earth and made them residents of the city, erasing their memories and regularly imprinting them with new ones in order to investigate the origins of human personality.
You have lost your memory. There was an experiment. Something went wrong. Your memory was erased. Do you understand me?
No, I don't understand. What the hell is going on here?
While human society continued unabated throughout the city, the strangers remained at work in the laboratories below, their factories churning out countless personal items and documents used to enforce the illusion of a past on their captives. Thanks to the altered memories and social conditioning of their jailers, none of the human inhabitants of the city ever noticed the absence of daylight. Likewise, though all of them remembered an idyllic seaside paradise known as Shell Beach, none of them remembered how to get there, and none of them seemed to question the curious lack of city limits or external train routes. Over the course of a single tuning session, entire buildings would melt, merge, or simply vanish to make way for new structures. The strangers possessed highly advanced technologies. Not only were they capable of warping the layout of a city and rendering its human inhabitants unconscious, but they'd also mastered a unique technological art for deleting memories and creating new ones.
Just a quick little caveat. Just because something is in a movie doesn't mean we should automatically jump on the bandwagon and say, oh, that's what's really happening. You know, because there's the old adage, lies in the news, truth in entertainment. So, I mean, that's probably true to a degree. Just keep your discernment high and, you know, don't be gullible. Just because a possible explanation sounds compelling doesn't mean that's what actually happened. And even if parts of it are true, it's only parts of it, and the real story is usually richer or somehow different than we suspect. This one, a dude posted that this looks like a dragon, which is about 4,000 miles long. And I can't say it doesn't. It kind of does. So that this would be the head with his like spikes or frills. You know, his skull and his eye here or here, I don't know, his mouth or something. This would be his wing, and Hawaii is his wing. It's a cool idea. Here's his arm or his other wing. I mean, could be. I don't know. The only reason I would consider that, or one thing that makes me almost take that seriously is the existence of these claw-looking things in Bolivia, which are 5 miles long per claw. It just looks like a set of claws. Possible another one over here with like right here or something, I don't know, or right here maybe. But if you look closely at these, it's like a claw curving underneath. I think I already covered this, but looks like a shark tooth or claw, a couple of them, and it's like 12 miles across or something like that. So it would be commensurate with the size of this potential dude over here. Maybe they cut his hands off and threw him in the desert just to be cheeky. I think it's kind of funny. Okay. Thought this was an interesting image. Wanted to read it to you. Somebody's post. If you go to practically any state, country, city, or village throughout the US, you'll find the same story. Throughout the world, really. But this is just focusing on the US. And very similar timelines, with the exception of some cities on the East Coast, New York, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. They were organized around 1810 to 1820. They become incorporated around 1820 and 1830, and by 1850 to 1860, they are full-blown places. Cities already laid out. Most have electric trolleys or streetcars. They have huge telephone poles, larger than today, metal rods on all the buildings. Very large, gorgeous structures, dozens of churches, banks, and state, county, capital buildings. After 1850, there's just an explosion of citizens. Something just does not add up compared with what we are told and taught. These places go from supposedly having small log cabin buildings and sawmills to European-style castles. I would encourage everyone to do a search of your county and the cities, towns within it, and you will see for yourself. Okay, so there's a well-known phenomenon of architectural decline. So how all these magnificent buildings were built like hundreds or thousands of years ago, and then now we have these like shitty little boxy buildings. It's pretty interesting. And then there's the issue of a lot of the telephone poles from these early photos, these early eras of American towns. They have telephone poles before we had electrical wires and telephones. So they have these arrays of what some people are calling like free energy antenna. It's possible. I'm not quite sure what it is, but these are before we even had electricity in towns. These towers were there, so or these poles were there with the, and then wires were added later, and then they were replaced with modern telephone poles. So people are wondering why that is. Okay, let's just go to Mexico City real quick. And I just want to, just for people who haven't seen this for some reason, oh, come on, brah. So this building style, this is like European style, and this is Mexico City, and you see this in New York as well. You see this all over the world. This is like an old. So is it that the the New World came over here and then started building their similar style recently to match their European heritage? That's plausible. Where's another place in India? See the same type of deal. Where's Mumbai? There we go. Okay. In India, we have buildings like this. It's just, I'm saying it, maybe it's from a worldwide civilization that you see stuff like this in the US, you see it everywhere. India, Mexico City. Here's another one in Mumbai, India. It's got this ornate cathedral-looking kind of really huge scale building style. And why were they doing that hundreds of years ago, but now we build boring crap? Just doesn't quite add up. And I want to take you to Los Angeles, California. This is a building at UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles. Wondering if some of these, if it's a copycat style or a recreation style, or if it's left over from the same era. It's built in like the 1860s, I think. Same with a lot of college university campuses. Here's a couple images from a Wise Up video. He is illustrating these cart ruts or just strange machining paths. Very deep, you see a person and these very deep grooves in the rock. Not quite sure how those were formed. Here's another one. It's got these strange fins poking out. So some might say this was some kind of structure that was already existing, and then some petrification event slash mud flood type of deal, like it was some kind of mud was dumped on it and then petrified, or I don't know. People explain it better than me, but here you see it from a different angle. I I have a tough time believing that these are natural. It's just, okay, if it's man-made, then what is it, and when was it made? Almost like wheels, but it's stone. So, and it's part of the whole. It's continuous with the stone of the rest of the rock, and you see these kind of faint, almost like tool marks or grooves here. And of course, a random brick wall, probably more recent. And I don't know what to make of that. Really don't. Here, I just want to show a little bit of a John Levi video. These grooves or patterns or grid lines, don't know what to call it. It's like almost like a cityscape, or the remains of one, but this is just flat patterns. And I believe this is in Egypt, yeah. And here you see more of it. And this is something you see all over the world. And I'll be doing a whole video on this momentarily. Just touching on that, and thank you for all the other people who are covering this right now. Okay, I wanted to interject here with one case study from Google Maps. We are in whatever country this is here. And let's see, Pakistan, cool. So right here, so we have what looks like two curved areas of coastline, and then what I wanted to point out is this straight cliffside here. So it's pretty flat in this interior area here, and then here you have this elevated kind of linear ridge. So it's as if there was a sweep this way, and then some kind of pass through along this path here, possibly. And one thing that makes that more credible is this ridge here, this submerged ridge line, which is parallel to the coast, or ditch perhaps, not quite clear, but it looks like an extension of one single maneuver this way along this path here. So not exactly sure how this went down, but it looks like something went like this and like this and maybe like that. And then again, this little ridge here. So just wanted to point that out. Okay, at this point I have some just miscellaneous talking points I'd like to hit on. Okay. So why so blatant in some places and non-obvious in other places? All right. So in some places you see straight lines and very obvious crisscrossing and very mechanical patterns, and then in other places you see more organic patterns that kind of look man-made, and it's tough to say what happened there. It's like it's more subtle and well done in some places, this grand terraforming project. and it's more blatant in other places, so it's kind of inconsistent. So why do we see that? So some possible theories are that they got cocky. They just kind of said, "Oh, they won't figure it out." Another idea is they got sloppy, like they kind of just got it good enough, and then they kind of left it. Another possibility is lazy, like Joey was supposed to make the beach look a little more natural, but he wanted a long lunch break or something, you know. Another possibility is they got interrupted. The project got interrupted, and it was in the process of looking more, of cleaning up the hallmarks of the project, of disguising the, you know, hiding your trail, covering your tracks. It was in the process of doing that, and then it got interrupted somehow. Another possibility is they were forced to leave clues as part of some kind of agreement or restriction. So maybe they had to be a little sloppy so that we would figure it out. It's possible. Another possibility is their algorithm that they used to do all this cleaning up and reconfiguring was not ideal. So there were hiccups or bugs in their algorithm, and they so that it left behind signatures of a poor or an unrefined process. So it was pretty good. It did its job for the most part, but then maybe there were just little bugs in the algorithm that made it look all wonky. Another possibility is that it only the end result only needed to be so good, only a certain level, a threshold level of good enough, and that it already served its purpose. So now that we're becoming advanced again, it doesn't matter that it's a sloppy job, or that we can see through it, or that we know the truth now, because it already served its purpose. So it didn't have to be perfect. So they just slapped something together, and it was good enough for whatever its purpose was. And they knew it would be discovered eventually, but they didn't care. Makes sense. Okay, the Thunderbolts project and the electric universe, how does that fit in? I just wanted to remark real quick that some of the alleged electrical scarring or electrical patterns, like this type of pattern that we see, you know, it looks like lightning, obviously. Some people say that would be due to electrical activity from space, like planets discharging. I got struck by lightning. Planets discharging electrical energy, and you see in the landscape and all over Earth, you see these patterns. And I'm just saying maybe this is yet another method of this global terraforming project. Maybe. I don't buy that, but it's just occurred to me, so I thought I'd throw it out there. Okay. Another thing I wanted to discuss is the idea of the actual hodgepodge, and not just the intentional hodgepodge. So it's not just that Earth was deliberately made to look like a hodgepodge or with a false past or something like that. It's that happened and it's an actual hodgepodge. So, and this is just a possibility that that there were many eras of history, possible resets allegedly, and many floods and natural catastrophes and stuff like that. And there was intervention by some type of um, interferer who came in and doctored everything. So it's everything. It's a lot of factors, which is why we can't exactly make heads or tails of it. Maybe. Oh, this one's pretty out there about timeline bleed through. Some people think, or they say that there were multiple resets and even multiple timelines for our civilization or for Earth. So some of these weird features could be like some kind of feature bleed through from universe to universe. Again, that's pretty out there, but just throwing it out there. Oh, another possibility is there was a change of agenda. So they thought they wanted Earth to look one way, and then they just stopped mid-project because they changed their mind and they wanted to do something else, or they left. So why? What was their motivation? Maybe they wanted to create this big, rich past and this maybe like a containment environment, you could say, or even like a school from a more benevolent perspective to make us feel small and maybe even discombobulated. That's a possibility. You know, if you have these ancient civilizations that are super advanced, and then we have our modern activity, which is less advanced, then that could be used as a strategy to make people feel like they're lesser in some regard, or like some kind of archetypal hijacking or usurping. Like replacing the parent figure archetype or the precursor archetype, the god, the creator archetype with some kind of mess. I don't know if that made sense, but something to that effect. Just one brief note, something I noticed about fraternities in the American college system. So there's these clubs of people who get together and drink beer and party, whatever, and they're fraternities. And it's like Freemasonry light, like the diet version of Freemasonry. So there's these goofy handshakes and little rituals and symbols and the owl symbolism and lots of weird stuff. So I don't know what to make of it, but it's just interesting that the whole Greek system, so-called, or the fraternity system of colleges is kind of a smaller, less hardcore version of Freemasonry. So that's something that occurred to me, and it's interesting. And at my college, there was something called the Sun God Festival, which is like the big deal once a year, like the one time everyone partied. And it was basically like there's a weird sun god statue, and that we had a party for it. I don't know, kind of a cult, kind of weird. Okay, something I have to acknowledge here, and that is the chicken egg dynamic. So which came first? So in regards to these sweeps or these scoop, scoop, scoop along the coast that I'm talking about. Which came first? With this the pointiness and the land remaining in between the alleged sweeps. Is it that this land was here first and then a point formed due to weathering? I think that's very plausible in some cases, not in all. That's kind of what it looks like there. And so like right here, are we dealing with so right here, like we have these bit of land remaining. Is it that this was just a particularly resilient piece of rock, and first, and then there wasn't much, the rest of the rock eroded away, and then these curves formed naturally around it? You know what I mean? It's the same with this. Is it that these were just the more resilient areas of rock, and then the shoreline kind of eroded around it to reveal what looks like sweeps but isn't? That's possible. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. Here you see more of the same thing. Also, my place marks are updated, so you can download my place marks. Many thousands of these guys. Just click through at your leisure. Again, just download it and then go to File, Open, and you can check them out. They'll show up in your temporary places folder, and if you want to drag that folder into your My Places folder and then click File, Save My Places, then it'll save so you can check them out next time. And that's up to date. It's got everything I've made a note on so far in Google Earth Pro, and it's in the description, so check that out. Oh, another thing I wanted to address is, why has no one noticed all this stuff before? Or, why isn't this all common knowledge? Why is this like a recent movement among internet researchers and not? And why haven't people noticed this all along, this whole thing? Well, first of all, Google Earth is pretty new. We haven't had the ability to A/B areas like relatively instantly. Like I can look at a high-def picture of the Middle East and then I can compare that in a few seconds to India, whereas that would have been pretty difficult to do just a few years ago. Also, when you're in an airplane flying over some of these places, you might see some weird stuff, but again, you can't A/B it with other places when you're flying like that, on the fly. Also, you're locked when you're in an airplane flying over these places. You're locked to one zoom level. You can't zoom out and zoom in and see these places from different angles. You're just kind of looking at whatever you're looking at, and also you're just gonna assume that anything that's like a grid or crisscrossed or artificial looking, you're just gonna assume that that's modern farming, probably. In most cases. And again, whoever did this did a really good job. The big project, whatever the project was, making the Earth look different. So, I mean, it's convincing. Everything looks natural. And maybe, to some degree, whatever that means. So, high resolution, high altitude photos have only been around for a short amount of time, relatively. And also belief systems are very, they color our perception. So like if it's not even on the periphery of our of our thoughts that the Earth may be not what we think it is, then we're not going to look for this stuff. And when we do see evidence, we're going to classify it as something else, rationalize it. These streaks along the coast, I do wonder why pilots haven't remarked on that more, or on any of these weird features. I mean, we tend to, or maybe people have, and it's just since the internet is relatively new, just word hasn't quite gotten out yet, and people just kind of shrug their shoulders and take note, and is what it is, and they don't tell anybody, or don't make noise about it. Also, one last point, don't be a sore loser. Whoever did this, first of all, we don't know why they did it. Could be for our own good, we don't know. Or multiple levels, could be both destructive and constructive. Multiple parties with very rich interplay of agendas. So we don't, I mean, if someone did like take over the earth and enslave the human population, which is very popular idea right now, I mean, you can't really make the case that we're not enslaved. Can you turn your hand into a foot right now? No, then in what sense are you not a slave? So, or are you not at least temporarily enslaved? But at least we can kind of look at it from a third-party perspective and say, that's kind of funny. I mean, I'm sure many of the things from a first-hand perspective are not funny at all, like being eaten by an animal or being tortured or something like that. A lot of the crap that's transpired on Earth, it's pretty hairy stuff, and it's pretty serious business on one level. I just don't know that it's productive to whine about it. Not that we shouldn't take action and move ourselves to a better situation. I'm just saying, give credit where credit's due, and marvel and say good job to whoever gave us the shaft. Maybe even give him a high five after you slap him, or before. Okay, that's enough info. I'll be back next time with more topical videos like cartoonish rivers, gaps, grids, streaks, and I'll also do some videos with random zooms, so you can, I'll just zoom in randomly to different places I haven't looked at yet and just show you what I see. And then I think I may or may not do some compilation videos of like most extreme examples. And then also I may or may not take a field trip or two to some places nearby me and document that. And also I want to finish this project. Like it's too much. I have other stuff to do, so I don't want to do this forever. This isn't really my legacy. It's just kind of something I'm doing for a little bit. So I hope to wrap this up within about 10 or 12 videos. There's so much good content out there anyways, so I don't want to over create and waste your time. So see you next time.